If I let fear control me, I'll be Anthony Yarde, the nobody, not Anthony Yarde, the boxer. Growing up where I grew up, I want to be that person. If I hit someone, they can't sleep.
How many amateur bouts did you have?
So I had technically 11 and 10 knockouts.
Did you really?
Yeah. That's how I started to make a bit of a name for myself in amateurs. Frank called us and he goes, right, we got some options. They said, Beterbiev. I said, what? I can fight Beterbiev for the world title? He's like, yeah. I was like, yeah, come. When I watched it back, he threw the shot the round before. I was going to throw the uppercut and he threw it. Boom, he come over the top. Just missed me. And he done it again and caught me, didn't he? We got the Linden Alpha fight. So I went and saw my granddad. We was talking. It must have been about a week later. He died. I wasn't even thinking about the fight I was in. I shouldn't have been in the ring. I watched it back and I was like, this ain't the fight I was just in. I messaged him on Instagram saying, congratulations, bro. And he was like, yeah, thanks, whatever. I started seeing interviews where he was being a bit cocky and he was saying certain things, whatever. So I was like, yeah. But I said, bruv, get me the rematch with this brother.
Light heavyweight champion, Anthony Yarde.
Grade your career to date.
I would say maybe a 7.
If you get the win over Benavidez,
10. Bing, bing,
gotta
bing,
be,
bing,
it has
bing,
to be
bing.
10. How do you beat David Benavidez? Before we start, at first round, we sit down with the biggest names in boxing and we keep it real. No fake drama, no clickbait, just the best names telling their story. If you want to see boxing done the right way, hit subscribe. It helps us grow and it means we can keep bringing you the biggest and best boxing content. Thank you, and now let's get back to the episode. Hello and welcome back to First Round TV. Right, so this guest, if he was to receive belts for the size of his bollocks, then he would have a big set of belts to match. Anthony Yarde, how you doing, mate?
Yes, I'm very, very good, man. How are you?
Yeah, I'm good. I'm thrilled to have you on. I really am, because it's been a journey already.
Yeah.
It really has. We were just saying off air, you know, it's been, yes, I mean, it's had lots of chapters already, your career.
Yeah, again, if you look at where I came from, how my career's gone, even how my life's gone, you know, it's like I'm celebrating every day.
Yeah.
So it's always onwards and upwards for me.
Right, yeah, I'll start with this one. You've built a reputation as an explosive, powerful, intimidating fighter. But when you strip it all back, what do you think people still get wrong about Anthony Yarde?
That's a good question.
Well, of course it is. I mean, that's First Round TV.
What did they get wrong? Do you know, I don't know, because I don't really hear a lot of what people say about me. You know, I know some is negative, some is positive, but that's just how the world goes. I guess I would probably look back when I retire.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Still a work in progress.
Still a work in progress. And I'm a strong believer in people are going to think what they're going to think anyway. People are going to say what they're going to say. And I've seen it happen with individuals before. You know, they get swayed. They become different people because they buy into what people are saying so much. You know, they change this, they change that. They're not being their true self. So I'm always going to be true to myself. I can always look in the mirror and say, yeah, I know that person. A lot of people can't do that.
Look, we're going to touch on your career from start to sort of finish. Well, finished up until date. But if you are to win a world title,
yes,
you're going about it the hardest way possible.
Absolutely.
You wouldn't want it any other way.
No. You know what, actually, I say that, but that's just the way my dice was rolled.
Yeah.
And again, my beliefs, how I think things are going to go for me. This has been the best way. You know, I feel like if I won the world title when I went to Russia early on, I don't know where I would be now. Don't know the kind of person I would be now. It's just part of the book. It's part of the book, and I'm enjoying my book so far.
You know, just so you touched on it there, if you would have, and we're going to talk about this later on in the pod, if you would have beaten Kovalev in Russia and you would have won the WBO title, do you think you'd be, are you that kind of guy you think will make numerous defenses and look to challenge yourself constantly? Or will it be, you know, a few fights and out you go?
Do you know, I don't know, but one thing I can say is if I won that fight in Russia, I don't think we would have left. I don't think we would have left Russia. I'll be serious. So I look back at the video sometimes and I remember how I was feeling when I was there and, you know, the people that was around us and how it was all going. I wasn't meant to win that fight, bro.
Hostile
It
crowd.
was hostile. We had armed security with us.
Yeah.
And at the first I was enjoying it until my family got there. And then, you know, when your family get around, you start getting a bit, you know, anxious and whatever. I remember I asked the security guy that was with us, I said, is it that dangerous around there? He just looked around and said, for you.
Really?
For you, yeah.
So you're worried about their safety, your family's safety.
Exactly, because we got security with us, but my family haven't. And I was in Chelyabinsk. It wasn't like Moscow or nothing like that. It wasn't a really populated area. It was known as like the bad bit. So people were telling us
where you could get away with saying
what I'm saying. So people kept, and obviously we've seen all the movies. We heard you know, the negatives. You know, some people call it negative. Some people call it good TV. We've seen the good TV when it comes to some of the, you know, mafias and all them kind of things. And the way the security guard started moving at one point, I had to ask him, I said, is it that dangerous? Like, I remember he was holding his jacket, he was holding my back, walking, looking around. There was a time when we even made us jog for a bit. And I was like, is it that dangerous? He goes, for you. And then, yeah, I think my nerves started from there.
Right. Hackney born.
Yes.
Ilford bred or?
No, I would say Stratford.
Stratford, right, okay.
Stratford, and then I went school in Forest Gate. So a bit of both. It's very close to each other. Born in Hackney, but again, I wouldn't say I'm from Hackney. I was born there because I only lived there until I was about 3 years old. And then I grew up in Stratford and Forest Gate until I was around 23, and then I moved to Ilford.
Right. How was your childhood?
Eventful. That's a good word to describe it. I would say I was a good kid growing up. Good kid. Developed a bad temper. What I realized as I got older, because I was thinking to myself, I was like, where did I get this bad temper from, and where did it all come from? It was a defensive mechanism,
right?
Because again, growing up where I grew up, a lot of people were getting stabbed, robbed. You know, in America they say at gunpoint. Over here it was at knife point. It still happens to this day, and it was like a theme when I was growing up. Everybody, like, you see a group of boys, you just start running. Or you stand your ground and then you see knives all around the place, people start fighting. But I saw it with my own eyes, a few people get stabbed by people I know and 2 people I know. So it was one of the things growing up, I was like, I just want to be able to knock someone out. That was my thing. If someone approaches me, again, some people have got pride. I'm one of them people. Having someone take something away from you, and you having to give it because you're either scared. I've been in situations before where I've been scared, or, you know, you might make the wrong decision. You might argue, or it might just be a person that's hyperactive and just wants to stab someone out there. I've seen that happen as well. I always had to say to myself, I want to be that person. If I hit someone, they go and sleep. From young, I had that mentality. So, yeah.
Why do you think there is such a epidemic with knife crime? You know, in certain parts of the capital.
I think it's a mix and match of things. It's a mixture of, you know, environment. You know, if you're playing the game, you know, you put people in like a certain area with a bit of poverty, and you're prone to get violence. It's just how it is. That's how the whole world is. Wherever there's poverty, you get violence. And then once something becomes fashion, you know, I think even still now, it's fashion for some of these kids to walk around with knives. When I was growing up, everyone had knives.
Serious?
Everybody. I was one of them people where I was like, I'm not carrying a knife. And then some of my friends used to say, bro, you need to, you know. I was like, I'm not carrying a knife. If that's what's meant to happen, it will happen. I want to be able to knock someone out. So, I wouldn't say a reputation, but yeah, when I was growing up, I hit somebody that was older than me and knocked him out cold. And again, I had a bit of a bad temper, etc. So it started to, I don't know if it was a thing where it spreaded, and I was kind of stocky as well because I'd done athletics. Oh yeah, Anthony, like, yeah, he can fight, and he's a bit mad. Like, that's what people call you. He's a bit mad. He's got a bad temper. And I was a very cool person. You know, I was friends with everyone, people from different areas. So I never really got into problems. I had maybe 2 fights growing up in my whole life.
So it was a protection then.
It was a protection.
Yeah, because sometimes it could be the reverse.
100%.
People want to beat the boss, if you
Mhm.
like. If you're the man who's respected.
Yeah.
Blimey.
But what I think it is, yeah, is this is what I tell kids nowadays, because I work with a lot of young kids who are going in the wrong direction or been stabbed or doing stabbings or whatever. I still I don't like to be around it, but I like to mentor kids. I feel like it's all about mindset.
Mm.
And one thing I always say to these kids, I say, a lot of the problems you're in, you've attracted it.
Yeah.
It's because of your mindset. It's the way you're thinking. Yeah, you can go to a party, because everyone wants to, see girls and whatever. But you're going with a mindset that you might get into problems. Yeah, it might be from trauma. You might have been stabbed before or whatever, but you're going there anticipating something. So 9 times out of 10, you're going to run into problems.
Yeah.
And that's something I learned as I got older. Because when my mindset changed and I got a bit older, I don't even see it no more. But when I was growing up, I was always around it. It was following me. I'll go to one place, someone's just been chased with a gun. And where I grew up, when I was in for a skate, they had very big problems, century-old problems with another area, Leytonstone. But I had family in Leytonstone, so I was always back and forth. A lot of the boys in Leytonstone knew who I was. I had friends over there as well. So, but it was a thing where when I was with my friends, like my friends who wasn't in gang beef as well, they will stop them and be like, "Oh, who's this? Like, who's this? Like, he can't be around here. We don't know where he's from." And I was that person that was always like, I'll call myself a floater. I was in different areas or whatever, because I knew a lot of people. But for some kids, it's not like that.
Daz, we need to do the ad read.
Might need a bit of time in here, lads. Won't be too long. Now, before we carry on, a big shout out to our sponsor for this episode, Manscaped. Listen, you keep your guard up when you're in the ring, so why drop it when you're trying to look sharp? This ain't just any trimmer. The Lawnmower 5.0 Ultra is the real main event. Built to handle your most sensitive areas with care. Its skin-safe technology helps reduce nicks, cuts, and that awkward hopping around the bathroom mid-round. And that new white hot design, clean, white and gold, looks more like a world title belt than something you nicked out of your granddad's toolbox. I know what you're thinking. I haven't got time to faff around with self-care. I was the same until I tried out this bad boy. Whether it be a date, a trip, or a fight night, this thing's got you covered. So yeah, keep your corners tight, your footwork sharp, and your grooming game cleaner than a judge's scorecard. Join over 12 million people worldwide who trust Manscaped. And remember to use our code FIRSTROUND to get 15% off your entire order at manscaped.com. Stay calm, stay smooth, and leave the burns to the sun. Do you think if boxing was embedded into a lot of the school curriculums in these areas, it would have a healthy benefit? And the reason I asked that is because you said you had a bad temper.
Yeah.
But when I'm around you, whenever I see you, you're so calm and chilled out. You don't look like someone who's got a bad...
No,
even when you're fighting as well, you control it.
Yeah.
And I think that's where I'm going with it. Boxing teaches you controlled aggression, doesn't it? Respect, discipline. Do you think it would have a big impact on the life out there?
100%. Because I always say this, boxing actually, well, first of all, God changed my life, but he changed my life through boxing. I didn't have a bad temper. I wasn't born with a bad temper. I developed a bad temper from, you can call it trauma, That's a story I don't even mind telling as well. But once I realized that having a bit of flair, a bit of anger, a bit of aggression deters people, it became a habit.
Right, you played on it.
Yeah, so it's like I learned to be angry. Then it got to the point where I couldn't even control my anger no more. I was always...
You become it.
Yeah, everything was making me snap. And then 360, when I got older and I started to realize certain things, and it's like I developed a bad temper to protect myself. That's what I realized. But then I started to not like it. Because when you can't control something...
Yeah.
Do you get what I'm saying? It's like I couldn't control when I was getting angry, how I was getting angry, who would upset me. And then as I got older as well, a saying I've heard is, if someone's able to get you angry, they got control over you. That's another thing that stuck in my head. I was like,
Yeah.
no one's having control over me. So that's probably why I'm so calm now. And I'm happy now. Before, when I was younger, I had a mentality that my one of my favorite sayings when I got upset was, I don't care. I don't care. I used to repeat this. I don't care. I don't care. And you can't imagine, I don't care. I don't care. Because genuinely at the time, I didn't care about nothing. I had nothing to look forward to. I had nothing to live for. I just wanted to exist. I was just existing.
Oh, and up to what age was this?
I would say, remember I started boxing late, so I would say until I was around 20.
And what time did you start boxing? What age?
Just before I turned 19.
Okay. So even then you had no real goals, direction, dreams?
No. So I played football. I got to a good level in football. But again, I didn't have as much knowledge as I got now.
Right.
Not as much experience. Still involved in some of the wrong things where sometimes you're forced to have that little spark about you. Again, football was like a roller coaster. I excelled very quickly, but then something happened, which I think was God's work. Got injured in a trial game for QPR. And before this trial game, the guy even said to me, goes, everything's been perfect. Like we was more than happy to take you on whatever, but we need an active player. I got injured during that game. I played 2 games for Tunbridge Wells, scored both games. That's when I got the trust for QPR. Before that, I played Bishop Stratford. So it was like a trajectory. Everything was going smooth or whatever. And I was like, yeah, my life's finally going to change. I want to do this, I want to do that. Injury. So my mentality was, F it. I'm just going to F it. Everyone's against me.
Yeah.
Like, you get what I'm saying? And then I end up in the wrong things. I wouldn't say I started hanging around the wrong friends, but I got in contact with the wrong friends, got led into the wrong things for a very short time. I learned my lesson very, very quick that I'm not a gangster. I would tell you that for free. There's no embarrassment about it, because me and a person, there's no human being I'm scared of, evidently, as you see my career. I'm not scared of no human being, no man. But then when it comes to my family, I'm a softie.
Yeah.
You know, my friends, anything that could happen to anyone else because of me and my decisions, okay, sorry, I'm sorry. Real gangsters are not like that. They don't care. They're willing to lose everything. So I realized very quickly, I am not a gangster.
All right, but you are a gangster when it comes to boxing.
Yeah, boxing game, I'm a G.
So you, around 1920, then you're in the boxing gym? Your mum didn't want you to box, is that right?
Exactly. So I wanted to box. As I said, when I was growing up, my thing was I wanted to be able to knock someone out. I used to watch Mike Tyson. Mike Tyson's the one that got me into boxing. So I used to watch boxing and I used to say, yeah, this is a small guy knocking out big guys. I didn't know about weight classes back then. Nothing. All I saw was a small guy knocking out big guys. And I was like, yeah. So I started watching Mike Tyson. I used to watch old fights he had and get nervous. The fights already happened. It happened probably when I was born, like 1991. But I'm watching the whole build up. Said to my mum, I was like, do you know who Mike Tyson is? She was like, of course I know who Mike Tyson is. And then I was watching it saying, I could never be a boxer. I used to look at the screen and say it out loud. I was like, I could never be a boxer. Like, this guy, there's cameras in his face, like all this pressure. I could never be a boxer. I used to say it. And then I said to my mum, I don't want to be a boxer, but I want to learn how to box. I want to be able to knock someone out.
Yeah.
I said it to my mum as well, just like that. And she was like, no, boxing's dangerous. And I was like, please. She was like, no. She's like, you're good at other sports, do other sports. And then there was a boy. My mum was one of them women in the area. It's like everyone was her child. So people would like come to my house, get crisp, sweets. Everyone's chilling outside my house, one of them kind of mums. And then a boy that she knew, he would just say to her, hello, auntie, or whatever. He got stabbed, like right outside my house, because my area I grew up in Carpenter's estate in Stratford. And this boy, at the beginning of my house was a bridge, yeah, that went from, there's Westfield now, but back in the day, people that know Stratford knows it wasn't that. You cross this bridge and then it's like my area. He got stabbed on a bridge, literally like right outside my house. And then everyone's upset. He didn't die or nothing, but everyone's upset, everyone's police everywhere. I said to my mum, I said, see, that's what I want to be able to, that's why I want to go boxing, just to learn how to fight. And then it's like that rung a bell in the head. So she took me to a family friend, Fimba. Again, they would give Mum all the feedback saying, "Are you sure he hasn't boxed before? He's powerful, he's strong, he's like a little Mike Tyson."
Is this all just from watching Tyson, you think?
Just from watching.
Like you hadn't done nothing?
Yeah, just from watching, because I used to literally watch him and be like, okay. I used to do it in the mirror. And then the feedback was, nah, he needs a box. My mum was like, absolutely not. But then I wouldn't say disrespected, they disobeyed my mum. So the next time I went back, they made me spar a boy that was 17 and had something like 15 bouts or something like that.
Yeah.
And at the time, I'm like 14 years old. All I remember is this guy jabbing me in my forehead. And I said, nah. This is like, it was pissing me off. It was getting me angry. So again, that's when the anger started kicking. But I handled myself in that spar.
14?
I was 14.
So did you carry on from 14?
No.
Or no? So then you stopped?
So this is the point I'm getting to. So
right.
When I sparred this boy, I remember the feeling, I winded him, like so much things happening in that spar. And then one of the parents said to my mum, "Oh, your son's very good." She was like, "Oh, thank you." And she was like, they were like, "Oh, like, how long has he been boxing for?" She was like, "No, he's not boxing." They were like, "Oh, he was fighting earlier." So they snitched. So my mum was like, "What?" And she looked at me and she was like, So she called my family friend and she was like, "I told you I don't want him like fighting nobody." And they were like, no. It was just like we was all there. She was like, "No." And I had like a little mark as well.
Right,
not heavy, but you know, like little grazes. And then she didn't let me go back. So that was it. I was there for like maybe 2-3 months. As soon as I sparred, she was like, yeah.
But then back and seriously when you was...
Just before I turned 19. I remember because my birthday's in August. It's coming up. So I remember it was June.
I remember.
I remember June. I went into the boxing gym.
What gym was it, by the way?
Tony Cisse.
Yeah. I sparred with Tony loads at Repton. We was at Repton together. By the way, big love to Tony Cisse.
Massive love.
You know, we're all there for you, mate.
Yeah. So Tony Cisse saw me. He was like, "Yeah, you can hit." And like, anyway, we trained, and then I think it was at that moment in time I told you about the time when I got into the wrong things. I realized I wasn't a gangster. Up and down, you know, and then I remember I was laying on the bed one day. I was just laying looking at the ceiling. And I was like, I need to do something with my life. Because I can't be, from young I said to my mum, I'm going to be a millionaire. I don't know how. I used to say this. I used to walk around my house saying this. And then I was laying on my bed and I said, I need to do something. And then this is when I was starting to get back into football or whatever. Like the injury was getting better or whatever. And then one of my friends who actually played real football, I was on the pitch doing the warm up and I was shadow boxing. just like, and he was like, "Bro, you're just wasting time." He goes, "Why don't you just go boxing? Like you're known as well for like people are scared of you. Like we've seen you hit a few people on street or whatever, and they've all gone to sleep. Why don't you go boxing?" And when he said it to me, I was like, I'm one of the people, when someone says like, I'll clip my fingers and go, I'm going to do it.
Yeah.
So then he said it to me, I was like, you know what? I want to do it. And then I was laying in my bed, I said, you know what? What's actually stopping me from boxing? Is it fair? Because I used to watch Mike Tyson and say I could never be a boxer. And I said, no. I said, I ain't no wet piece of sand. Like, I was like, literally the only thing stopping me from doing it is fear.
Yeah.
Once I've made that decision within myself, I said, I'm not scared of nothing in this world. I said, yeah, I want to go boxing and give it everything. Because I was old in the game of sport. I said I have to give it everything.
By the way, I was the same. I used to watch Tyson all the time. My dad boxed at Repton, but and that was probably the reason why I got into it. But the person that I was fascinated with was Tyson. And it was the way he made me feel, as in he scared the life out of me. So that's what resonates with me. He scared me, and I was thinking, imagine being a Frank Bruno or someone like that, you know, who's fighting Mike Tyson. Sod that. So a lot of that resonates. How many amateur bouts did you have? Because you didn't have many, did you?
I had 12.
12 amateur bouts?
Yeah, 12.
How did you get on in those 12?
You know what's funny, is my whole career I've said 12, but it was actually 11.
Was it really?
Yeah.
So what's this phantom 12 one?
Because I was meant to have 12. We got all the way to the point where we was going into the ring, and then the guy disappeared.
You was in the ring?
No, we was walking to the ring.
Walking to the ring.
The guys just disappeared. So,
So
I've got in the ring
you Mike
first.
Tyson them.
Basically, I've got in the ring first. We're waiting for the guy to come out. We're looking around. Got my head guard on, and the guy just never came in the ring.
Oh, do you know what? That's the 12th win.
That's what
I'm saying you're gloved up.
And that's
you're
why-
ready to go. You had an
Exactly.
opponent. He's bottled it.
Yeah, he's literally
That's
got
12.
it.
I'm having it. How did you get on in the 12?
So I had technically 11 and 10 knockouts.
Did you really?
Yeah.
Flipping
That's how I
it.
started to make a bit of a name for myself in amateurs. And then I had I went into the Box Cup, the national tournament or international, whatever it is. And again, I knocked out everyone.
Was that Haringey?
Yeah.
The Haringey Box Cup, yeah. That's massive
That's
now.
it, yeah,
It's Europe's largest amateur competition now.
Is it?
Yeah.
That's big. Yeah, I knocked out everyone in it.
Did ya?
Everybody.
Gold medal.
Gold medal. And
So, off the back of that, sorry, was you approached, did you sign with Frank Warren from the start?
Yeah.
So was you approached because of that? Or
No,
how did that come about?
I would say it was a bit of word of mouth and a bit of relationship that he had with Tunde. Because Tunde, from what I know, Tunde used to train Kevin Mitchell. He trained some other pros as well. And that's how we met Frank.
Right.
Yeah, so this little relationships or whatever. So we met with another promoter, then we went with Frank, and then Frank's offer seemed a bit better, and it was a bit more steady. We had a bit more, I wouldn't say control, but it was a bit more like there was a plan in place. So I was like, yeah. I felt good in the meeting. I always go by how I feel as well.
Yeah.
And then, that was it, man.
And he's great, Frank, at building fighters, isn't
Exactly,
he? You see what he's done with
exactly.
fighters in the past, Naz,
Exactly.
Joe Calzaghe. Do you know what I mean? He's a master at it. Mitch Mitchell stopped him in the second round, 2015. What are your memories of your debut?
Oh, it was amazing, man. Weighing in on the day you fight, it was in SSC Arena, which again is a big arena type of your pro debut. I think it was Billy Joe Saunders headlining. Phenomenal, man.
Yeah.
You know, you look back, it was 10 years ago. When I
Yeah.
think back, I'm like, wow,
10
10 years
years.
already. This is what I'm trying to say. I say to people here all the time, there's no time to waste. And
No.
enjoy your life. Because when I look back, I'm like, how was that 10 years ago?
Yeah. I was pro 10 years. And
Crazy.
it's like,
Yeah.
where did it go?
Where? I'm watching you as well. Darren Barker. Yeah, I'm watching you. Trust me, I remember.
Serious.
Proper.
I apologize.
No. No, you was very, very
What were your dreams and ambitions back there? Can you remember? Was it I'm going to be a world champion, or was it I want to earn millions of pounds, or was it both? What was the goals then?
You know, this is actually emotional because the goals were both of what you just said. So I wanna, because think realistically, when I was younger, I said I want to be a millionaire. It was my thing because I wouldn't say I come from nothing because my mum had a business, she owned a club in Hackney, etc. But when you've gone up and down in life, you know, I went from having at a young age feel like I had everything, and then it's like, oh, I got nothing now. So that feeling, and I've always felt like an adult from young. I don't know if it's because, like, you know, from the age of like 7, 8, my dad wasn't really around, but I always felt like I had a responsibility, like as a male in the family, you know, to provide and all them kind of things. So then when I had nothing, it wasn't a good place. I don't like the feeling. You know, when you're having to like ask for £1 to go and buy chicken and chips, because that was the meal back in the day, chicken and chips. Quite like chicken
Food
and
of
chips.
champions.
You get 4 wings and chips. Now it's a bit different. It's expensive.
Yeah, you ain't getting it for £1.
Do you get what I'm saying?
No chance.
4 wings and chips from Bossman. Every day. That was my dinner. That was my food. I wouldn't say my dinner because my mum used to cook, but that there was a mentality I had was, I'm going to be a millionaire. You know, and then these are the times where YouTube was getting popular and stuff. I wasn't one of these kids. I was playing PlayStation, but I wasn't these kids that was, you know, fascinated with, you know, certain things.
Yeah.
I was, how do I become like that? I used to watch the music videos, you know, and see, I realized as I got older, a lot of it was fake. But I used to see the jewelry, the cars and things like that. And I used to be like, I want that.
Yeah.
And then the mansions, you know, they always get the mansions. And I always used to say, I want it. And then, thank YouTube, I started typing in how to become successful. Then I started typing in Will Smith motivational speech, you know, and then I started coming across so many Arnold Schwarzenegger, you know, all these people, all the celebrities, and then I started to click on certain things. They're all saying the same thing or a very similar thing. Some of them were more, you know, explanatory, but I started to realize a pattern. I was like, they all say about hard work, you know, belief, and so I started writing down little things that they were all saying, like the things that made sense. And then God as well, like praying and all that kind of stuff. And that's why I don't talk about God a lot, but for me, I don't think things happen by chance. So when I started to, you know, pray and, you know, ask God for understanding how things work and, you know, that will and all them kind of things just started happening for me. It started changing like dramatically. And the thing I always hold on to is the fear thing. If I let fear control me, I will be Anthony Yarde, the nobody, not Anthony Yarde, you know, the boxer.
Fear of what? Fear of opponents, fear of losing?
Everything. Like, when I watched Mike Tyson, I used to look at the screen and say, I could never be a boxer. Just for the fact of, you know, everyone's watching you fight.
Yeah.
I remember that feeling in school, yeah. There was one time I was meant to have a fight. It didn't happen. But me and this boy had an argument and we was like, all right, cool, we're going to fight after school. Watch. I couldn't concentrate for the rest of my school day.
Because you're thinking about...
I'm like, what? I was in my lesson shaking. Like, I was so scared. And then, you know, you leave school, the whole school's following. That's school. Now, and I'm looking at the cameras, I'm like, hold on. I'm watching this 10 years later. This is scary. You know, what if something bad happens or embarrassment and things like that? All these things. And I thought to myself, when I got to a certain age, I was like, I don't care what no one thinks. Do you get what I'm saying?
Is that how you channeled the fear then, or putting it away as just not caring?
Yeah, because Tunde was telling me I was ready to turn pro about a year before I turned pro. He kept telling me, he was like, you're ready. Like, I've sparred professionals, I've sparred amateurs. Like, I'm beating up people. He's like, and you're ready. He's like, it's not going to be a rush thing. You're ready. I was like, no, not yet. But I made that decision to turn pro when I had finally got that confirmation in my head that I genuinely, it's not a faking thing or you're acting. I don't care about what anyone else thinks about me other than myself. That's when I was able to leap and say, yeah. And I think that's how I've dealt with being a pro so well. And you asked me earlier, you know, about what people think of you, what they say about you. And I don't even know. Because what really matters is how I think of myself when I look in the mirror, how I think, who I see. And that's probably why I've got so much courage. You know, I'll fight anybody because I couldn't live my life, you know, the rest of my life with what ifs.
Yeah.
I can't.
You're right as well. And why should we give a shit what anyone says? You know, our lives, we're so important in our own little worlds on this planet. But what people think of us is so irrelevant. You know, like, you know, what is that? there was someone who went out in space and looks at the little blue dot, what was Earth? And, you know, his problems were so insignificant to the meaning of life. Like, why does it matter what Joe Bloggs is saying over there? The keyboard warrior who's giving, who cares?
Who cares?
Do you know what I mean? That's not going to derail you.
Exactly.
Do you know what I mean? And yeah, that is the positive mindset to have. And it's a mindset that I believe is so important to be successful. Like lots of pods, when I do these pods, a lot of people say, oh, you know, you go past certain parts in careers. It's because we're limited for time. We don't have all the time in the world. If I could go through your career, we'd be here for hours already. And we've still got the final chapters to come. But I'm going to fast forward to your 11th fight, and you stopped Chris Hobbs in the 4th round of a 10-rounder.
Yes.
You already touched on it there. Like, you chinned 10 of your 11 amateur fighters. What do you think it is? Have you I won't say have you always been a puncher, because you obviously always have. But what is it that has made you a puncher? Like, I think it's one of the big discussions. Like, what made Mike Tyson a puncher? What made George Foreman a puncher? What made Joe Frazier a puncher? What makes a puncher, in your opinion?
In my opinion, it's a bit of... It's a ingredients of things. I don't think anything exists alone. Some of it is, genetics. I do believe that. But I'll say a lot of it is your mindset. Your mind. I feel like when someone truly believes something, or there's a hype, you believe it, your opponent believes it, it's now a real thing. Do you get what I'm saying? Until Golovkin fought Canelo, do you get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It was like he would jab somebody and they were falling off there. Like early in the fight, like he would go to throw a punch and they'll fall over. Mike Tyson had the same thing. Mike Tyson, there's a fight, he fought some black guy, I don't even know the guy's name. He pivoted and threw a punch. The punch didn't land. Like, we've all seen it with our own eyes. He threw a hook and the guy flew in the air and hit the ropes. Do you know what I'm talking about? He pivoted and went, shoo, and the guy was like, because, I don't know, the air must have been so powerful that hit him.
Yeah. Even the Michael Spinks knockout, like I know it's an uppercut, but you don't really see. I mean, he's obviously poleaxed him.
Yeah,
but it's crazy.
The Spinks one was a knockout.
Yeah, no, it's true. What am I talking about? He ducks down and he does catch him clean with the uppercut. It is an uppercut, isn't it? What is the one? I know you're saying he clips someone. Even Trevor Burbick, when he catches him on the head and he does the mad dance.
Oh yeah,
that
was genuine as well.
Yeah, that's like a scramble, but
he could punch.
Yeah, it just shows you. And you said there, like, believing that you can do something. And I think that translates that mindset through to technique, like committing to a shot. Delivering it and really committing, fully turning your hips, your back foot into the shot.
And what I would add on to that when I say mindset is Customato basically hypnotized Mike Tyson. He made him believe he's the most ferocious, and Tyson speaks about it. When he starts crying when he talks about Customato gave him an unbelievable amount of confidence.
Yeah.
He was scared, but there was that thing of, this kid is going to be the greatest thing ever. And when Tyson did start putting people away, it sends shockwaves. If you knock out 10 people in a row, you start looking at your fist a bit different.
Yeah.
It's now like an energy you walk around with. Like, I've got it. If I hit somebody, they're going to sleep.
You just know.
Yeah. Like, I've got that, like, yeah. If I hit someone and
I wish I had that.
They're going to sleep. And some people just got it.
Going back to that Chris Hobbs fight as well, that was your first 10 rounder, albeit you stopped in the fourth, but you pick up the Southern Area title.
Yes.
There must have been a good moment for you.
Yeah, an accomplishment. There's stages in your career.
Yeah.
Every fight plays the same, in my opinion. Every fight is just as important as the other one. But there's the stages, There's when you turn pro, there's your first title, and then you climb the ranks, then the world title. It's stages. So Chris Hobbs was my first ever title.
Yeah.
And then that's the first guy that ever spoke to me as well. Like, tried to talk rubbish.
Oh, really?
Chris Hobbs, and he's a nice guy. But I don't know if it was nerves or what, but we was doing the face-off and he said something. So I said, what? I couldn't believe it. So I said, what? And he was like, yeah, I hope you're ready or something like that. So I started laughing. I was like, okay. I think that's why in that fight, I came with a bit of flair. Like, I was a bit like, I was excited for that fight.
Yeah. That was a good moment for me. That was the first title I won, the Southern Area title, because whatever happened, even if it went tits up from that moment going forward, at least you'd won something.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Yeah. Albeit it's a minor title, but it's still a prestigious title. The Southern Area belt, on my one, it had some brilliant names. Howard Eastman, Alan Minter all had it. Do you know what I mean? In the middleweight division. So it was a big one. And obviously, fighting for a 10-rounder is a good one. Next fight, you beat Richard Baragni for the WBO European light heavyweight title.
Yes.
An 18-1 fighter as well.
Yeah.
Must have been happy with that.
I was so happy. And you know what? That fight, that fight taught me a lot about myself and my mentality. So I don't know if you ever had one. I had an abscess tooth. Yeah,
I haven't.
It's basically, I had an infected tooth.
Swollen.
It was swollen. I couldn't touch my face. Like, I was basically crying in training. Like, the last few days when I was making weight, it was, and I remember me and Tunde had an argument about it. And then Tunde was like, nah. But Tunde wasn't realizing what I was going through at the time. But my
The pain you was going
the
through.
pain.
Right.
Like, anyone that's had an abscess toothache will know what I'm talking about. My mum said an abscess toothache is worse than childbirth.
Serious.
She's not joking. My sister backed her up and said the same thing. And when you get an abscess, there's having a toothache.
There's going to be loads of women. Well, if women do watch this podcast, they're going to be screaming.
And I guarantee if they've had an abscess, they might agree with me.
Was it that bad?
100%. An abscess toothache is like, it's unbearable. It's in your head. It's like, it's a nerve in your head.
Did you go into the fight with it?
Yeah. So imagine this. And this is what I'm saying about God, yeah? If he jabbed me and landed on my face, I might have had to take a knee. I knocked him out first round.
It was first round, yeah.
Yeah, first round. And I remember Tunde was putting Vaseline on my face and he done this to my cheek. And I pulled my head back and looked at him, yeah? And he was like, sorry. But it was just that whole build-up. And I could not tell you why I even went into that fight. I just said to myself, it's a title. You know, Frank Wovens, said, oh yeah, this is a big fight. I was so excited for it, but it was stupid. It was so stupid. And then again, it happened to me again. I think this was like maybe 4 or 5 fights later. I said, absolutely not. So
Really?
It was the same tooth that got infected again. I should have took it out. But I said, I don't want to lose a tooth. I kept it in.
But back then, even so, you've had 11 fights, 10 KOs. You must be thinking, and with that going into that fight with that pain, stopping it in the first round, are you thinking this is easy?
No, because I think what makes me think it's like don't make me have that mindset is the training.
Right? Yeah. You don't take your foot off the gas.
Do you get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I was training hard. I'm still training hard, and where I've learned things, I've learned that at one period in time, I was training too hard. I was overdoing it going into certain fights. Looking back at my career, I remember how I felt going into the fight. There was a time I got cramp in the change room. My body was I was over fatigued. And then, I've started to work things out.
How great is that though, getting to this stage in your career, having overcome all of those ups and downs, but having what you would call experience now, knowing how to manage your body, how to approach fights correctly. You couldn't be in a better stage, better place, could you, at this stage of your career?
Because I feel like mentally, I'm one of the strongest.
Yeah.
I've proven that to myself. It's not really about anybody else. I've proven that to myself. Again, I went into a world title fight in Russia, yeah, not having a nutritionist. I've never had a nutritionist up until my last fight.
Really?
Imagine that. I've never had a nutritionist. I've never had a strength and conditioning coach. My whole career.
So has it just been yourself and Tunde?
Been me, Tunde, Ade Oliyinka, and Martin.
Wow.
Martin used to be the guy with me on the pads. Those are the 3 people who have helped train me, other than Tony Cisse when I was an amateur. And when I was a pro as well, Tony used to come in and, still move around with me. And I couldn't really hit him back, but he was going at me. See, Tony, man. I love Tony.
Yeah, same.
Tony Cisse, I love him so
He could
much.
whack, man. I'm telling you, he could whack.
Mm-hmm.
That's why I was always good with fighting southpaws. I had him, Danny Appy, at reps, and I sparred with him week in, week out. And every time I sparred with Tony, I would know I'd been in a spar.
Trust me.
Even
he was so
he
small as
my
well.
arm. Oh, he was stocky, but flipping it. He could whack. He could really whack. Yeah, a message on Tunde. He's been pivotal, hasn't he? He's believed in you since day dot. He's been instrumental, hasn't he? You must be so proud of the relationship that you have with him. Definitely. In and out of the ring.
Definitely, because me and Tunde, it's where we've both grown so much, very different personalities, but we've got a lot of the same traits. We both work hard. I don't know anybody who loves boxing like Tunde.
Yeah.
Like nobody. His whole life is boxing. And again, even before I met him, when I did meet him, I said, this guy's a bit, he's a bit weird. Like I've never seen someone like their whole life is boxing. Like he gets to the gym, he's boxing, he's watching boxing, he's studying, he leaves, he's doing the same thing, he's in the gym, like, goes home, he's like, yeah, I'm just watching boxing. Like, but then again, it starts to feed off. You start to adopt that same kind of mentality.
Yeah. What a great moment It will be. We'll say it will be when you win a
Yeah.
world title and you can share that moment together. Because exactly what I had with Tony Sims, he went through so much with me, very similar to yourself. And we'll get onto that with the losses that you experienced in 2020. But to share that moment with Tony, which I hope one day you do with Tunde, will be very special.
Yeah, definitely, man. And again, yeah, there's a lot of people I want to share that moment with.
Yeah.
Yeah, even Tony Cisa. I get emotional because, again, as you know, he's got the motor neuron disease thing. And yeah, man, he spoke to me about like when he's gonna die and all them kind of things. It's like it's heartbreaking. It's heartbreaking. So
he's always Tony, and I'm not just saying it's always spoke so positive about you and always said how he believes you'll be a world champion. So yeah, this podcast 100% dedicated to Tony Cisa.
100%.
That's for sure. You stop another 6 opponents before the first real big one.
Yeah.
And you've mentioned it, the traveling to Russia to take on the Crusher in Kovalev for the WBO world title.
Yes.
But you must have gone into that fight, albeit you're in there with a wrecking ball. You're 18-0. You're 17 knockouts.
Yeah.
Did you believe it was your time?
Yeah.
Yeah.
100%. There was no doubts in my mind. You know what? I say that, but there was like a hesitation. So my career has been like this. Tunde, you know, you, Frank Warren, whoever it is, you lot sort out the fights, I'll fight anybody. From the beginning of my career, I said I'll fight anybody. If you put me into a world title fight tomorrow, I'm fighting. Again, the career went how it went, you know, very, very well. Quick trajectory, probably one of the biggest prospects. And then I got offered the Kovalev fight because I was ranked number 1 with the WBO. That's the first time there was a bit of a hesitation. When we heard Kovalev, yes, excited. It's in Russia. And there was a bit of a hesitation.
Right.
Because, okay, you have to knock this guy out. You're not going to get the point decision. He's got the fight, lined up with Canelo. And I was like, and me and Tunde spoke about it. And I was like, but I won't care. I'll fight anybody. And he was like, now let me think about it. Then he come to me and was like, I feel like this is your moment. I was like, yeah, me too. Come, let's fight. And then we went.
It nearly was.
Yeah.
It nearly was.
And then this was a pinnacle moment. Again, shows a bit of my character. We got offered step-aside money.
Did you really?
Yeah. We got offered step-aside money. The same.
Sorry, after it had been announced? Or?
So I think it was just before. It was a while ago. So I think before it got announced, they tried to, because they had to fight with Canelo. And obviously, from what I'm guessing, the money would have been better. There's so much. So they said, his team approached and said, we'll pay, you get paid the same amount if you just
wow.
step aside. Yeah.
Fair play.
Same amount of money. They were like, we got the Canelo fight, etc. And I think it might even been Canelo's team and stuff offering. I don't know who was offering the money. I didn't want to hear it. I was like, no. I said, I want to fight. Yeah. So,
mate.
I said, yeah, no. I just feel like, again, that thing of looking back, it's a fear of man. If I've got any fear in boxing, is looking back and saying, I didn't do that because I was scared. Imagine.
Yeah, but I don't think anyone would have blamed you for taking money and not fighting.
No, I hear it. And again, as I'm a bit older, a bit more mature, understanding that, looking at my idols like, Mike Tyson, Floyd Mayweather, and all these people, even Roy Jones, you look at them when they're retired and then they say, belts. Mike Tyson threw all these belts in the bin. I said, it's garbage. I've bled for this stuff. Like, it's garbage. What matters is, have you got your brains left? Are you intact? Can you support yourself and your family? That's the reality of it. Yes, the accolades, the accomplishments.
Yeah.
But that, we have to have understanding that comes after your stability. Because one of the things that kind of broke my heart is, you see Riddick Bowe. Again, he was another person I watched a lot of, when I was coming up or whatever. He was the man.
Great era.
What? He was the man. And then I saw him in Vegas. I hope he's in a better position now. But when I did see him, I was like, that's Riddick Bowe. I wanted a picture, everything. But he wasn't in a good position.
Nah.
Yeah, and you could tell it was like financially at the time. Hopefully it's a better position now. But I look back, I was like, what? That's really bold. Like, is everyone all right? Like, I'm looking around.
The fights he had, the money fights he
Exactly.
must have had.
So I've started to understand that from quite early in my career. But with that fight, I said, no.
So you've touched on what it was like, the build up, you know, being over there, it was dangerous, etc. What was it like being in the changing room before that fight? How was your head? How was your thoughts?
I was so calm.
Was you really?
Calm, relaxed. You know what's funny? I've not been nervous for any of my fights. Even Beterbiev. Like, I was in the change room dancing.
I can't have that. I cannot believe.
I promise you.
But you obviously there's butterflies there.
No.
What?
Because it's like, okay, when you say butterflies, it's more, for me, it's more excitement. Look at where I am. I don't know if it's call me crazy, I don't know. But it's like, look at where I am. Like, look at the level I've made it to. If you saw me growing up, or you saw like how my life was or whatever, and how my life's changed so much already, I can only be appreciative. This is why I work so hard. Because I'm like, what an opportunity. You know, I've seen my life change. You know, I've got money now. Like, look at all this happened. You know, now I'm at the stage where I get to fight one of the best.
Do you think as well that was going right back when you had to be able to channel fear? Do you think that was a shift in those big moments there where you didn't suffer with nerves?
Yeah, and another part that plays a massive part in it. Maybe it is a bit of craziness. I'll be honest with you. Maybe it is. Maybe a little bit.
We're all nuts. Anyone who boxes is nuts.
Is a bit, yeah. So I think another big part to it is, I always see it as like, I want it to be that guy. Like, I want it to be someone that's dangerous, who people are saying I can't beat. Because if I beat this guy, do you get what I'm saying?
I 100%.
You understand
Sergio Martinez, he was destroying everyone.
Exactly.
It was probably the least nervous I was. Exactly. So I understand what you're saying. I was still shitting myself, don't get me wrong. But probably less than usual.
And that's probably my mentality. My mentality is like I don't care, because I don't care about what people think. You know, if I beat this guy, that's a pizza.
Yeah.
That's not a cheese pizza. That's all the toppings. that's
fully loaded.
And the ice cream on the side. Do you get what I'm saying? So it's like, that's just how I live my life.
I tell you what, it was some attempt. It was some attempt, and you proved. Well, you knew yourself what you had. You've touched on it there, but you won a lot of fans over that evening with the heart you showed. You were so close as well. You really was. What did you learn from that defeat?
I learned I'm not invincible. I learned I've still got a lot to learn. You know, even just in the fight, even before, you know, the fight ended, I said to myself, this is different. This is the high level, but I loved it.
Right.
So even when I was in there, I started breathing heavy, and then I hit him with a shot, and I see him like kind of, I said, okay. And I remember saying for the whole build up, people talk about all this stuff, saying, yeah, but it was 1 round, it was 2 rounds, whatever. I said for the whole build up, this guy might be the guy, but at some point I'm going to hit him. When I hit this guy and I land, I'm going for it. I said this for the whole build. Go back. I said it for the whole build up, and that's what happened. So again, it wasn't my night that night. I almost had him out of there. But you see that fight. You see the Kovalev fight. Yeah. The reason it kind of sits on me a bit heavy is because everyone knows how the sport of boxing is. You know, there's a lot of people that deliberately cheat. It's a dangerous sport. People deliberately take drugs. People trying to enhance themselves wherever they can or whatever. So he fought Canelo. Canelo stopped him. Yes, he was saying it was too short. He didn't have a training camp or whatever. But then the fight, when he was coming back from the Canelo fight, which is not the fight after me, the fight after that, he got banned for drugs. So in my mind, I'm thinking to myself, I went to Russia. You know, when I had him out on his feet, he come back the next round like he was in the first round.
Right.
And
So it was a bit odd.
I played it back in my head and I was like, nah, this guy was either superhuman or he wasn't hurt. But now when I look back and I see the slow motion, his eyes were all back in his head and he was holding me. I said, how did he come back next round like he was fresh? I started psh. Not calling nothing and saying he was on that fight, but he got banned for drugs after that. So in my heart, I was just like, I feel like he took something from me.
Right.
Because I would say, if someone said to me, you know, do you think he was on drugs when you fought him in Russia? In the beginning, I would have said no. When he got banned for drugs, I say he was definitely on drugs when he fought me.
Do you think that defeat, though, albeit that aside, was the kick up the backside you needed?
100%.
Yeah.
100%. I need to level up. I need to do things different. I need to be better. But I've always had that mentality anyway. I've always said I started boxing late. You know, all my opponents have had all 200, 300 amateur fights. I had 11, 12. I'm inexperienced. I'm playing catch up. This is why I train so hard. So it's my mentality. I'm always gonna, like, even, you know, when I fought Beterbiev, you know, he was a decorated amateur. You know, he was 18-0, 18 knockouts. I said, give him to me. Let's fight.
Yeah, we'll get on to that in a bit. But before that, we mentioned you had a really, really tough period, as many did.
Yes.
Around the world, 2020. In the space of 6 months, am I right in thinking you lost your father, 2 grandparents, and your auntie?
Yes.
I mean, how do you manage life around that?
It was, I think that period of my life was, I didn't even know what depression was or how to deal with it. It was just all too much at the time. I thought it was one of the things where I was okay. And I was like, it's life. Everyone else is going through it. You know, it's happening to people around the world. We're in a pandemic. You know, it's not only you. Don't be selfish. It's not only your family, it's others as well. What about the war? I used to, because I'm talking to my family and being that, you know, that positive feeder. So I'm telling my family members, look, this is the world we live in. You know, what about people, you know, where their countries go to war, you know, and a bomb gets dropped on their whole family and all these kind of things, and they see it and like, come on, be a bit like, it's sad, it's hurtful, but it's life. Like, we're all gonna die one day. Like, I'm trying to be that person. But then when you've been to the same funeral or burial ground that many times, I think it was my grandmum that affected me the most, because I was, you know, like, I loved her. She was always asking for us, like me and my sister, and she made a lot of effort, and I didn't make the effort to go and see her. So that's where it kind of like played on my head, make time for people, you know. I'm so, you know what being a boxer is like. You're so in your element because I need to do this, I need to do that, I need to have my peace of mind. You need to be selfish because when you go in front of the crowd, you need to be as much close to 100% as you can. And that around that stage, that one, I don't know why, but that one really, really hit me.
You had 2 stoppage wins before you faced Lyndon Arthur. So you go into that fight with Arthur. Is that shortly after that 6-month period of losing?
No, so my dad died first, and then about 5 days after, his mum died, my nan. And that one, it hit me, but you know they say sometimes you got a delayed effect. So it all happened, and then again I got the fight news. I was fighting Dex Bowman.
Yeah,
it was behind closed doors.
That's right.
And I just felt very motivated at the time. I just felt so motivated, and it was a time where we was like, hold on, is boxing going to be over? that was going through my head as well. I was like, if I'm
the end,
I need to fight. You know what I'm saying? Like, what if there's no more boxing? Like, I'm not rich yet. Like, I've made a lot of money, but I'm not you know, I ain't got 25 million in my account. I'm not, like, what's happening? Like, I'm not where I need to be. Like, boxing's it. I don't want us to go work. If I get opportunity, I'm fighting. So, when the opportunity came to fight Dex Bowman, I remember Tunde was like to me, yeah, we got to fight. And he was like, what, are you alright to fight? I was like, cool, Sam. I shrugged off. I was like, yeah, don't come with all that. Don't even talk to me about that. Like, let's fight. that camp was good. I was on fire. Felt myself, joke around in the gym or whatever. Won that fight. I was so happy. And if you watch the fight back here, it's actually funny for me to look back at. It was behind closed doors. There was probably like 20 people in the whole place. I knocked out Dex Spellman. I said out loud, I shouted, I said, I don't care if there's no crowd. And I went on the ropes and I started saying lions in the camp. That was an emotion because all I could think to myself was, yeah, that's for like my family going to be proud that I'm here and I performed. And when I looked up in the camp, I was like, lions in the camp, like, because my lions in the camp mantra is, we're humans, we've got all this emotion, we know how to communicate. But you see when a lion, loses a cub or they're hungry, guess what they got to do? They got to keep moving. They got to find food or they will die. And it's one of them things where they got no choice but to get up and hunt. So when I'm saying lions in the camp, it's a mentality. Like, that's what keeps me going. I ain't got no choice. I've always said that from the beginning of my career. I don't care if I don't want to train today because I'm tired. I ain't got a choice. That's my mentality. So I was pulling on the ropes and I was pulling the ropes and I was saying lions in the camp. Then I realised no one's here.
But that was a moment for yourself by the sound
for myself.
of it. Yeah.
It was for myself. And then we got the Lyndon Arthur fight. And then my auntie dies. After the announcement over, but I didn't tell nobody. No, sorry, my granddad died, sorry. It was my granddad. But I didn't tell nobody. And I remember I had gone to see him like a week before because, this whole you can't see anyone thing or whatever.
Yeah, yeah.
And because I didn't go and see my nan for it was a long time, I said, no, I have to go and see my granddad. I can't have this happen again. So I went and saw my granddad. We was talking. He had himself all locked up in the house. I was like, you need fresh air. I was lecturing him. Shortly after, it must have been about a week later, he died. It just hit me. And then I'm training. The fight's been announced, but my mind just wasn't connected to my body. So I'm training. Everything's normal because I'm coming to the gym. I'm laughing and joking. I was going home. And again, there's people going to say, oh, that's nasty. I wasn't leaving my room. I was pissing in plastic bottles.
Serious?
I swear to you. I didn't want to leave my room.
Wow.
I wasn't going to the shop. You see Uber Eats, it's a mad thing. I was going, thank you, shutting the door, going back in my room. And then one day I remember I saw like about 7 bottles. Obviously I was leaving to go shit. I saw about 7 bottles and I was sitting there, I was watching TV and I was like, no. I literally out loud, I said, no. I said, bro, what is this? I said, this is nasty. So I got all the bottles, I poured my way, went outside. I remember it was a Sunday. I've gone for a walk in the park. And I was like, I was arguing with everybody. Like girls, like my friends. I was being very snappy. And I sat to myself and I'm a person, like when things are like shifting or whatever, I think. And I was like, am I depressed? I had to ask myself, I was like, am I depressed? Because all I'm doing is I'm going to the gym, being over hyper, like laughing, everything's funny, whatever. I'm like that anyway, but it was like too much. And then I'm leaving, going home and sitting in my room. I was like, am I depressed? This ain't me. I'm a busybody. I'm out, I'm about, Then I was like, I'm depressed. But again, I didn't say nothing. I had a fight coming up. In my mind, I had to stay focused. I had this fight,
The Lyndon Arthur.
The Lyndon Arthur one. I'm in the fight. I felt like, when I'm in the fight, it felt like a sparring match where it's like, you're picking each other, but I'm getting the better of him. Like, it seemed like it was very, very easy. That's how it seemed when I was in the ring. Then I remember the thing in my head was as well, so much was going on in my head when I was in the ring. I've got a world title fight next, potentially. And, the last world title fight I had, I gassed out. Can I do 12 rounds?
Right, it was in your head.
In my head. But so much was going on in my head in that moment, I was in my corner thinking to myself, like, I was just thinking crazy things. Like,
do you think you was trying to pace the fight a little bit then?
It was, but it's not like I was doing it in a calculated way.
Intentionally, right?
Yeah,
right,
it's like my head, I was thinking about so many things. I wasn't even thinking about the fight I was in. So it's like I shouldn't have been in the ring. There was even a time here where it's not like it was a brutal fight where we're both getting knocked around the ring. There was a time where the bell rang. I went to a mutual corner. Like, what if you go and watch the fight back? I walked towards the mutual corner. I was like, oh shit.
Head elsewhere.
My head was not where it was meant to be. And then anyway, they gave him the decision. So I was like, what? I was like, am I buzzing? Like, is something going on? I watched it back and I was like, this ain't the fight I was just in. That's how I felt.
Really?
I was like, that ain't the fight I was just in. When I watched the fight back again, I will say this forever. I still don't feel like I lost that fight. I felt like it was closer than it should have been, but I don't feel like I lost the fight. They gave him the decision. I wanted the rematch immediately. But then when they actually gave the rematch, I said, okay, cool. Now I'm going to show them Anthony.
So you had one fight, didn't you, before that? Didn't you had one win, and then I think it was almost exactly a year.
Yes.
That you fought him again.
The second time, yeah.
Was that defeat harder to take than a Kovalev defeat?
100%.
Yeah.
Because I knew with the Kovalev fight, I just knew he was world class.
Right, okay.
The environment, it was a world title shot. Ours, be better next time. But with the Lindenhofer fight, I just knew, I said, this guy is not a better boxer than me.
So what was different in the rematch?
I had my head screwed on.
Yeah.
I was myself. I didn't have all these things in my head about going 12 rounds. I didn't have these things in my head about, working on things. Like, literally, maybe because behind closed doors as well, it seemed like I was in there sparring. I swear to you, like I was working on something in sparring, I don't know. And then the last round, I said to myself, cool, I've won the fight easily, but let me try and knock him out. And that's why in the 12th round, you saw a bit more of like me.
Yeah.
Like I wobbled him or whatever. But yeah, that's what will always bother me is that's always going to be on my record.
Well, I mean, you ripped it up, didn't you? The second time you fought him. I mean, it was impressive.
Yeah, thank you.
4th round. Was you buzzing more that you proved to yourself that you could do it, or to show to the doubters, see, I just had an off night?
It was more just for me because the first one really upset me. And me and Lyndon are cool as well. We're cool. After that fight, even I've got a certain heart. I know what hard boxing is, and I saw his reaction and what it meant to him. For him to win that fight. I messaged him on Instagram saying, "Congratulations, bro.
Fair play.
Like, you fought a good fight." And this is after I watched it. And he was like, "Yeah, thanks, whatever." And then something happened. I started seeing interviews where he was being a bit cocky, and he was saying certain things, or whatever. So I was like, yeah. So now I'm angry. Now it's like, okay, cool. Nah, it's not. Yeah, all right, cool. So now I'm like, I'm a cool Tunde. You know when you watch their movies when he's like, "Get me the fucking fight." That's what it was like with me and Tunde. I said, bruv, get me the rematch with this brother. Like I said, this has to happen. I spoke to Frank. I said, I have to fight this guy again. He's like, we're gonna make it happen over. I said, no, ASAP. I need to fight this guy again. And we made it. Once that fight got announced, oh my gosh, I was not. Everybody I sparred, I was knocking out.
Serious.
Everybody. It enlightened something in me. But we had the third fight. It was a good fight. He came very prepared. I prepared well as well. We had a good fight. We spoke after, and he said to me, he said in the ring, he was like, I didn't mean anything by it, when I was like,
right.
And I was like, no. It was just, it's what I had to tell myself to do what happened in the second fight.
Well, let's talk about that third fight now then. I was going to leave it, but did he surprise you a little bit? Do you think because in that second fight you destroyed him? Did you think, and I'll be deadly honest, I thought that was going to happen again. And I think many others did. I think on that undercard, that was the one where people were saying, right, this is the one that's going to go short.
Yeah.
This is the one that's going to go short. Yeah. What was different in that third fight? A bit of complacency, do you think, maybe?
No, I think it was a mixture of things. I think it was... It's going to be... I'm just going to answer this honestly, yeah. So I think he prepared very well. I've never seen him look like that in any fight. when I watched it back or whatever, he looked ripped. Like, he looks good. Afterwards as well, Pat Barrett did say you beat the best version of Lyndon Arthur. Like, we trained properly for this fight. The occasion, it was a you know, what was it? 60,000 people. I looked around and I was like, Ross. And then again, you know, Turkey Al Sheikh, I was like, you know, this, you know, I know he likes me. I've spoken to him face to face. He wanted me on this fight or whatever. You know, me putting a bit of a show or whatever. Anyway, so it's some of the parts I'm going to say in this thing are actually funny. Yeah, the middle of that ring was so slippery.
Yeah, we see it non-stop.
Like,
People slipping.
When I say slippery, there was a part where I think I went to step forward, yeah, and my foot slipped, like just a little bit. Like I went to stop and I said, "There's no way I'm slipping over." And then they do this thing one.
Yeah.
And I never. That's why later rounds it's somehow more got him to the ropes. Anyway, it was a good fight. I'm not going to say Lyndon Arthur is some easy guy I can just knock out, because it's not that. He's a world class fighter. You know, he went 12 rounds at Bivol. Like, he's a very, very good fighter. And then the last thing I'll say, which is funny, yeah, I remember I was in the corner and I looked up here and I saw like he looked like Ed Sheeran.
Oh yeah,
Do you remember?
Yeah,
I
they
actually
did
thought it was him.
Beckham. Oh, Anthony Hopkins run it as well.
Andy Hopkins, and I actually thought it was him.
Did you really?
I think they had Cristiano Ronaldo as well. Did they?
I think so.
Simon Cowell.
Simon Cowell. Yeah.
I looked up and I was like, hold on, is that Simon Cowell? So it's like, again, I was like, no, and stay focused. Don't let this happen to you again. Like, it's a close fight. Like, you know what I'm saying? Just stay focused. But yeah, so much things happened in that fight, man. But it was a good night.
Yeah. Right, let's go back then to your second big one, if you like.
Yes.
As far as, you know, who you was challenging. I don't want to take anything away from Lyndon Arthur, but, you know, you're in there with a beast.
Yeah.
An absolute beast. 18 fights, 18 wins, 18 by stoppage. Artur Beterbiev. The Mike Tyson, I guess, to mention him again, of the light heavyweight division.
Yeah.
But you didn't back down.
Absolutely.
You was well in that fight. You give it an absolute hell of a go. How did the fight come about? Was there any hesitations with that? How was you feeling in the build-up?
So I was number one again. And they said to Frank called us. And he goes, right, we've got some options. They said, Beterbiev. I was like, what? I can fight Beterbiev for the world title. He's like, yeah. I was like, yeah, come.
Straight away. Didn't need the other options.
Straight away. I said, yeah. I said, 100% Beterbiev. I said, stylistically, this is a good fight, like amazing fight. I said, I thought I can beat him. And then even Frank was like, well, it's going to be a task. But he goes, I think if you train properly and blah, 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 like, yeah, I feel like he's beatable. He's beatable. And then me and Tunde spoke about it. And I was like, bruv, I don't care who it is. Like, I want to fight this Beterbiev guy because he's knocking everyone out. He's like this destruction ball.
Yeah.
It's wrecking ball. And I see I watched the fight that he had with Johnson, Callum Johnson. I see him get dropped. Obviously, he got up and destroyed him. But I just saw it as, again, another massive task in front of me. You know, then I said to myself, another Russian. I remember I actually joked about it. I was like, why do they keep giving me these Russians, man? Like, these guys, like, at the highest level, like, they're tough. Like, he knows what he's doing. Like, even their school of boxing, it's like, even Usyk, they got the same kind of school. You know, the good footwork and the pivoting, the moving. Yeah. They're very disciplined. But I said, nah, man, I can beat this guy. Like, if I catch him and we get into it. And again, I watched the fight back. I was doing very well. He caught me with some big shots. I took them. I was like, come on, let's go. He cut me. I cut him back the next round. So it was a very, very good fight. I was just devastated. I made a stupid mistake. I was actually warming up.
Really? Could you feel that in there?
I think in like the fourth round, I was tired. I don't know what it was. I think he must have hit me with a big shot or whatever. But when I went in the corner, I started breathing, control myself, and I was like, cool. Let's fight a fire with fire. I remember saying these things in my head. I was like, you know what? Let me stop moving. I'm going to take it to him. So cool. And when I started taking it to him, he started like going back. I was catching him. It was such a good fight, man.
Oh, it was.
It was such a good fight. One fight of the year. I just made a stupid mistake, man. I threw a silly shot. He timed it as well, because when I watched it back, he threw the shot the round before and it just missed me. Same shot. So I was going to throw the uppercut, and he threw it. Boom, he come over the top. Just missed me. And he done it again and caught me, didn't he?
What a fight, though.
Man.
And the confidence, again, like in defeat, sometimes your stock can rise, and yours, again, after a defeat to another Russian, it did.
Yeah, I think
people were thinking this man's the real deal. He'll fight anybody, and he's dangerous.
Mm-hmm.
He's dangerous. So again, you know, you must take a lot away from that. But what surprised you most about Beterbiev? Was there anything that you thought, wow, that surprised me?
What surprised me with Beterbiev was how unorthodox some of his shots was. Like Kovalev, same problem. The way they throw certain shots is very textbook. Like, it's not saying the textbook thing will affect me, but it's how they were doing it. Like, he will land the jab, but he seems so far away from me.
Right.
So these are little things I learned. And a similar thing with Kovalev, but Kovalev, again, complete different fighter. Even these, like how he fought, how he knocks people out is very different. Kovalev, Beterbiev can almost come across as messy sometimes. You know, where he comes in, he's like, he looks a bit messy. So it's hard to read these shots.
Yeah.
Very hard to read these shots, especially when he started like letting them off. But I said to you, call me crazy. Well, probably am a bit crazy, but that was my favourite fight so far.
Really?
I loved it, man. It was so good. It was.
You need one of those now where you'll win.
This is what I'm trying to say.
Do you know what I mean?
And it's like, I'm always close. And again, being an honest analyst of myself, I was better than the Kovalev fight. This is my opinion. Next fight, 100%, I want to be the best version of myself.
You have shared the ring with two world champions now. What do you believe is missing from you that you have now to become a world champion next time?
Experience.
Yeah?
100%. When I fought Kovalev, so inexperienced. I was fighting a lot of talent, heart, mindset. Even Tunde's learned a lot as well.
Yeah.
Look at the instructions I was getting in the Kovalev fight, then look at the Beterbiev fight. Again, we're just growing, growing as a team, and I feel like it's a beautiful story.
Grade your career, 10 being the best, 1 being the worst to date.
Grade it.
Yeah.
I would say maybe a 7.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Surely, if you get the win over Benavidez,
10. Bing, bing,
gotta
bing,
be,
bing,
it has
bing,
to be
bing.
10. Doesn't it? It has to be 10 because
Yeah.
I think you have to look at your career up to that moment and look who you faced and who you've come up short against and the performances you put in to then beat one of the other feared guys in the division. It has to be a 10.
100%.
It can't be anything other than a 10.
Yeah, thank you as well, man.
How do you beat David Benavidez?
Being the best version of myself. Again, I'm not going to go into like tactics or what I have to do. I have to be fit, strong, smart, and to the yard. If I'm the best version of myself, I promise you, I feel like I'll beat anybody, especially I'll beat anyone in the light heavyweight division. And I actually mean anybody.
Are you in your prime now?
I think so.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. I feel like there was, when I was younger, the only thing, this is me being 100% honest, you see when they call it young and dumb, it's not really young and dumb, it's just young and fearless. You're just like, you're just going with the wind, going with the water, wherever it flows, you go. So with the Kovalev fight, I had to learn about certain things, making the weight in a different way, rehydrating properly. Like even being in Russia, our bags went missing. Everyone's luggage arrived. You got Tunde, the black Malteser. You just see a black shiny head in the airport. And then you got me there looking like a toffee. I'm just looking, where's our bags? Where's our bags? It's only us two in the whole airport.
That can't be chance, can it?
It can't be chance. And then you got Steve Bunce and all the film crew outside waiting for us, saying like, are you not coming out yet? We're like, we ain't got our bags. So anyway, we come outside. Our whole interview was about our bags being missing. I have to make weight. I have to train. We got no stuff. And then after the weigh-in, I didn't have no water for at least an hour. All that stuff plays a part.
Yeah.
But I feel like it's just helped strengthen me.
If I had a crystal ball and we could see where you would be in 2 years' time, what would your boxing career and life look like?
I don't know. I actually don't know.
Yeah, how does this sound then? World champion and a multi-millionaire.
Tick.
Yeah. There you go. Well, that's it then.
You know when you get a cake here, it's not even from the bakery, it's homemade. You got the icing's thick. That's what it would be, icing on the cake.
I'll tell you what, you've got some good analogies.
Come on.
And do you know what, have you noticed? They're all about food. There's a pizza one, there's a cake one.
I love food. In case anyone ain't noticed yet, half of my life, this is a funny story. This story is actually funny, yeah. You know a big part of my motivation for wanting to be rich? I wanted to be able to afford anything that I wanted in terms of food.
Really?
I wanted to be able to go to any restaurant and order something across the menu without looking at the price.
Yeah.
That was a big motivation of mine, because when I was growing up, you had to look at the menu, you look at the price, and you're like, oh, I want that linguine, but
it's got king prawns in it.
You know what I'm saying? Because you got the king prawns and the lobster. That was like 90-something pounds. I was like, no, I want to be able to buy that twice.
I'm just going to pick out a couple of moments in your career, just very quickly. But I want to ask you a question first. If you was offered double the money now to fight Jake Paul as opposed to Benavidez, would you?
Give me Jake Paul. Same amount of money.
Same amount.
Come on, it's just a no-brainer.
It's funny though, some people have said the opposite.
Yeah?
It's the opposite. Whereas I lean towards your way of thinking. Why? You can always revisit the Benavidez fight.
Exactly.
If that Jake Paul fight's there for that money, that's mad.
Why not? And again, not say like Jake Paul again, credit to him, he's, if the rumors ain't true about things being fixed, you see them get better, heard that he trains and things like that. So again, credit to him. But yeah, I'll take the Jake Paul fight. Easy.
Your best win so far?
The Linden Arthur 2 fight.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. Even the atmosphere, the magnitude, the build up, it being on paper 50-50. People were saying he was gonna win. Some people were saying, nah, I'm gonna win. I just loved that whole thing of how it was, and it was beef.
Well, it looked like, didn't it? It looked like he had the blueprint to beat you. That's what I'll do that again. I'll move, I'll get behind the jab, and that's how you beat Anthony Yarde. We ripped that up.
Ripped it to shreds. And it was like, even the build up, it was like there was a lot of animosity. Tunde and Pat started going at it. Like it was so good, man. That was a moment in both of our careers.
Yeah.
A very, very, very good moment.
And obviously it being a year after what you'd gone through with the tragic losses, so I can imagine that must have been a real highlight. I'm intrigued by this, right? Who is the biggest puncher you've faced? Is it an easy answer?
You know what? It's between Beterbiev and Kovalev.
Yeah.
But they're different punches.
Yeah.
Different punches. Maybe I was better conditioned against Beterbiev. But I feel like Beterbiev hit me cleaner more times and I took it better. But Kovalev, I don't know what it was. It was like there was a pop in his shots. Maybe it's because I was tired when he started hitting me clean.
Yeah.
Because with that fight, some people, like, I see some trolls, some people, you might see the first comment, because I don't really go through comments, but sometimes you might see the first one. They'll be like, this guy got knocked out by a jab. The jab didn't knock me out. I was going to fall over anyway. I was exhausted. Like, there was nothing left.
Yeah.
Like, I went for it in the 8th. The 9th, I'm still trying to go for it. It didn't matter what I threw.
You emptied the tank.
I literally went for it. And I think I went to throw a left hook. And I think he just put his arm out. And I was like, oh, fuck. And I was on the floor and I took a deep breath. And I looked up and the referee's waving off. I was like, no, man. And I was like, okay.
Why do we do it?
I don't know.
Madness.
But I love it, man.
Any regrets?
No. You know what? The reason I was saying no is because I feel like it's not over and the story still has so much potential to be one of the best stories in British boxing history. Like one of the best. Yeah, I would say no regrets, but offer me the step aside money now. Instead of going to Russia, I would have took the step aside money. And then, I might have got the fight I might have got a vacant belt. World champion.
Yeah.
Like, again, in another way, things could have went different. World champion, you got more oomph and...
Yeah, I know what you're saying. Like, for me, the step aside money to get the same purse for not having to put yourself through hell
Literally.
is a no-brainer.
Yeah.
But then going back to what we said there, how do you grade your career? And if you beat Benavidez or when you beat Benavidez, it will be a 10 because you took that fight.
Because of it, 100%.
Because of that fight.
100%.
I mean, what a career already. Domestically, the division's been really very good.
It's been popular.
For a good while now. And one of the fights that was so impressive earlier this year was Smith and Boatsi.
What a fight.
What did you make of that one?
I was there. I went to the fight because it was on the undercard of Beterbiev Bivol 2.
You come on, you spoke to us, didn't you?
Yeah,
you did speak to us. Yeah, you
came
did.
up.
Yeah, that's right.
I came up and I was talking, but phenomenal fight. Credits to Smith as well. He fought an excellent fight. Boatsi fought a good fight as well. I did think he just took too much punches. But they gave the fans an incredible fight. Me personally, I'm a advocate for boxing. I love boxing. I think if none of them wanted to fight me, because we tried to get the fight with both of them. If they wasn't going to fight me and they were going to fight each other all along, I think I don't know what they got paid, if it was because of the money or what, but it should have been in better circumstances.
Yeah.
That was a fight that could have been way bigger. Personality-wise, they both don't really sell. But in terms of a boxing fight, that fight should have been in England. Maybe 0-2. It would have been, I think it would have just been one for the fans.
Was any part of you gutted when Boatsi lost? Because obviously you've been sort of paired with him for a long time now, being the two domestic guys in the light heavyweight division.
Yeah.
Was you gutted in any way? And do you think that fight could happen in the future?
It is a potential future fight. I've spoken to Boatsi personally numerous times. We had intentions to fight. We tried to, I would say more, I would say I don't know what he was being advised, and I don't know, again, money can change things. If someone gets offered, a certain amount of money and says, I'll fight this guy, and then you can fight Anthony, it makes sense. I get it. So I can't really talk for somebody else, but I spoke to Boatsi before he fought Smith, and then afterwards, I kind of spoke to him a bit different. I was like, bro, like, you know what? I'm losing a bit of respect for you because you told me after you told me you're fighting Hutchison, you told me why you're fighting Hutchison, and I understood it.
Yeah.
But I was like, cool. Me and you fight next. It's a massive fight in the UK. Cool. So I have a little, a fight, not too dangerous, but a fight I can still be active. He went another route. And it upset me because I've got my career, you've got your career. None of us are young chickens. We're 33. He's 34 now. Well, how old is he? He's younger than me, innit? He's 32.
I think so, yeah.
No, he's younger than me, so he's 32 or 30, whatever. But we ain't got 10 years left in the sport. So if you're not going to fight me now, we've had personal conversations. Just say to me, Ant, I think we should do this, you know. What do you think? I always tell you what I honestly think.
Yeah.
But don't say to me, yeah, definitely, we're fighting. I'm going to fight you next. I've signed to fight you next. Yeah, and blah, blah, blah. You tell me all these things, and then now I'm hearing you're fighting Conor Smith. When I've just been here just chilling, thinking to myself, yeah, that's definitely a fight. I don't like all that stuff. So
well, look, you win
that conversation.
A world title, and I don't think it takes much of a rebuilding, does it? Losing to someone like Callum Smith, it's still a massive fight, right?
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? It could even be bigger. I personally hope it's a fight that we see one day. You know, when it's been mentioned, and you just like you think it's got to happen.
It's got to happen.
I really hope it does. Does a mention about the king of the division, Dimitri Bivol. Impressed? Someone you would like to fight?
Definitely. If they offered me, listen, without saying too much, I think everyone knows my personality by now. I think it's evident. I will fight anybody. And again, I'm not saying these things in terms of like, you know, I'll just fight anyone for the sake of it. I've always thrived on fighting people who I can say have achieved so much. You know, these are the people I'm fighting are guys that have achieved massive things in boxing. You know, when I fought Beterbiev, he was the unified champion. You know, he had 3 of the belts. What did he have 4? It's 3, innit? He has 3 of the belts. When I fought Kovalev, look, this guy was the, you know, Ring Magazine ex-champion, former unified. Like, his only defeat was to Andre Ward. Of course I want to fight him. Do you get what I'm saying? So it's like, that's my mentality. It's like, it's in the history books. And I said to you before about the pizza with all the toppings. I'll beat this guy. That's always my thing. So we got Benavidez now, you know, decorated, you know, super middleweight, decorated. He's moved up to light heavyweight. He's gone straight in and, you know, looked good against, you know, he fought Kovalev, you know, that's not no easy first fight at light heavyweight. He's looked good. So again, he's world champion already at light heavyweight.
It's going to be a cracker. It cannot be anything other.
A shootout.
It's going to be a shootout. I know it is.
Mm-hmm.
I know it is. Last question. Your Mount Rushmore of boxing. 4 names. It's your list. Can be anyone.
We've got to have Muhammad Ali in there.
Yeah.
For obvious reasons. Floyd Mayweather. Oh, this is hard, man. We've only got 4 names.
2 more.
Oh my gosh.
It's your 4.
But it's mad though.
2 more.
But this is mad. Mike Tyson has to be in there.
I'm so glad you said that.
Tyson has to be in there. Like he actually has to. For me, above anybody, because I wouldn't have got into boxing if it wasn't for Mike Tyson.
Well, no pressure now. You're 1 more.
It's madness. This is impossible. No, this is impossible.
Well, I've got to push you for that 4th name.
But it's actually impossible though.
We'll try.
Because I can't say, like, it's mad. I can't say one person name without mentioning the other person.
I've got 2 of yours, by the way. Ali and Tyson are in mine.
Yeah.
Sugar Ray Robinson.
Exactly.
And
see? You're trying. Do you get what I'm saying? It's like the names that I would ring off are Sugar Ray Robinson, Sugar Ray Leonard, Roberto Duran, Chavez Sr. Like, there's certain people who can't be left out of any list.
Yeah.
So how are you going to give me 4?
And I tell you now, a name is going to be put in a lot of them is Usyk.
Usyk's going to be in there.
Done what he's done in the amateurs, what he's done, who he's beaten.
People say that if you think about it, on paper, he's completed boxing.
He has.
He's final bossed it. So when you're playing Tekken or whatever, he's done it. He's final bossed it.
It's so true.
European gold medalist, Olympic gold medalist, unified cruiserweight champion of the world, undisputed heavyweight champion of the world. Are you mad?
Undisputed cruiserweight?
I say he was unified.
Undisputed?
He done undisputed.
Done the lot, twice. 3 times, what am I talking about? 3-time undisputed. He won it twice at heavyweight.
Yeah. He won it twice at heavyweight.
Yeah. 3-time undisputed world champion.
It's ridiculous. And
completed it, as you say.
He's completed it. Like, you know when they say like, you know, What's the thing of boxing? He's completed boxing.
One more name.
Oh, bro, I tried to deter. I tried to go off of it. Okay. I'm going in errors as well. This is why I'm doing this. So Ali was one error. Mike Tyson was another error. Floyd Mayweather was another error. I have to go Robertson.
Yep. Right.
Do you know why?
That's solid.
It's solid.
Solid.
But do you know why it's Robertson, yeah? Because Robertson, again, is one of my favourite. Like, he, on paper, is always the GOAT.
Yeah.
Really.
Yeah.
If you're talking about just boxing. Because it's the errors. I was debating in my head between Roy Jones, Hansa Stone, Roberto Duran, and Sugar Ray Leonard.
I like your way of thinking there, though, because you are going through the eras.
Yeah.
And that's fair. You've been fair to boxing there.
Do you know what I hate what people do? It totally, it leaves me in distraught when people compare errors. Because you can't.
You can't. It's not fair, is it?
It's not fair. You can't do that. You can't do that because, like, it's, for example, Mike Tyson against Roy Jones. Come on. We love to see it, but it was an exhibition.
Yeah.
You're not going to say, like, oh, but who would have won in their prime? There were different weight classes. You can't say who will win, Floyd Mayweather or Sugar Ray Leonard. You can say it, but really and truly different errors.
Tyson Ali.
Come on, behave.
Anthony, I've thoroughly enjoyed that. That has whizzed by.
Yeah?
Whizzed by.
That was good, man.
I sincerely, wholeheartedly mean it when I say I hope you fulfill your dream. I hope you win that world title. You deserve it, mate.
Thank you.
You deserve it because you've taken on every challenge. You've overcome adversity, grief. It hasn't been plain sailing when it could have been. There's been ups, there's been downs. Nothing would make me happier, and I'm sure all of you are watching this, to see you and go and win that world title. I mean it. I wish you all the very best, and you share this with me. Tony Cesar, we love you, brother, and this is dedicated to you, mate.
We love you so much.
And thank you.
Yeah.
Top man. Thank you, mate.
You're not
You're a legend. Thank you. Thank you.